so they do the most. Sipping on the lean just to fill the void. I might charge a fee just to be at home. I get everything that I want and more. And I had a freak, yeah, yeah. I had a freak. She made me a fiend, yeah, yeah. She made me a fiend. And now they coming for me, trying to find a way out. Pressing me cause they know I got the layout. Under pressure so they pouring up the alcohol. Pass out in the mansion so they couldn't find them all. A bunch of thugs sipping on a glass of gin and juice. They all do the same thing, I live rhythm and fools. Yeah, rhythm and fools. Yeah, oh, rhythm and fools. Yeah, rhythm and fools. Rhythm and fools. Rhythm and fools. I just dropped a record no one ever would. Try to make it sound like this, you never could. Paving not the way again. Y'all can't wait for the weekend. And you have a dream, yeah, yeah. And I go to sleep. You try to sing, yeah, yeah. And I make the beat. And now they coming for me, trying to find a way out. Pressing me cause they know I got the layout. Under pressure so they pouring up the alcohol. Pass out in the mansion so they couldn't find them all. A bunch of thugs sipping on a glass of gin and juice. They all do the same thing, I live rhythm and fools. Yeah, rhythm and fools. Yeah, oh, rhythm and fools. Yeah, rhythm and fools. Rhythm and fools. Rhythm and fools. A bunch of thugs sipping on a glass of gin and juice. They all do the same thing, I live rhythm and fools. Yeah, paving not the way again. Yeah, y'all can't wait for the weekend.
Alright, welcome to the live stream. So, what we're going to be doing tonight is we're going to be working on the flowers for this painting. This is a painting I've been working on before, so we're continuing where I left off. This is an acrylic painting. It's going to be of a teacup resting on a saucer surrounded by flowers. So, after kind of giving it some careful consideration, I decided that I don't actually care much for the color of these flowers. I don't like them being the same color as the saucer. It just makes them look boring and bland. So instead, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to work on changing these to a different color. I'm going to change them to yellow. I think that'll make them stand out better and also just make the overall picture look interesting. So in this case, the first step towards changing the color of the painting of these flowers is going to be just kind of applying like a yellow glaze over the petals. It should still allow some of the shadow detail to come through while at the same time just changing the overall hue of the flower. So I'm going to go ahead and start this off by taking some yellow ochre mixed with a bit of matte medium. That way it'll kind of make a transparent glaze, and we'll see how that works out. So what I'm going to start off with is I'm going to use a number 4 flat brush. That'll let me get into the details, and it's a little bit better than trying to use a filbert brush to paint in like blocks of color. So this is yellow ochre with a small amount of matte medium glaze. So I think this isn't too bad. May spread around some of this paint a little bit more just to kind of. But overall, I'm liking the way this looks. I don't want to completely lose the shading I did previously, but you can still see that a lot of that shading does still go through the paint I'm applying. So this isn't completely opaque. And if I need it to be a little bit more transparent, I can always just add more medium to the mix.
Strong if you keep me warm. That's how I love. That's how I am. I'm a real woman, true as one can be. I'm a real woman, I'll make you see. I'm a real woman, true as one can be. I'm a real woman, I'll make you see. Sure of all the things I say, it's not easy to encircle me. I'll show my passion with no reserve if you don't play the one who hurts, 'cause I've been hurt before. I'll take no more. I don't even know what's gonna happen next. Your body and your soul may never take a rest, but if you play it real, I will love you still. You understand me, baby. I'm a flow of emotions in the river of life. But if you stand by me, you'll see through me. I'm a real woman, true as one can be. I'm a real woman, I'll make you see. I'm a real woman, true as one can be. I'm a real woman, I'll make you see.
And when you're covering over the original color, make sure to also get the shadow areas too. You want to make sure that you're applying the glaze over evenly on these flowers.
Someone's fire, don't be afraid to tell them. Give me my flowers while I can smell them. I feed off of energy. I don't pretend to be someone who doesn't need it. I'm talking about love. Oh, let me feel it. While I can feel it, I wanna feel the love. Whoa, let me feel it. While I can feel it, let me feel the love. He or she without love, I feel sorry for them, especially when you cuddle up from night till the morning. If you say you don't need love, lies you tell. You can front all you want, but you know good and well you wanna feel it. Oh, let me feel it. While I can feel it. I wanna feel the love. Let me feel it.
Okay. So now that I've applied the yellow glaze over the flowers, and I think that's actually drastically improved the overall composition. It no longer looks like the flowers are blending into the rest of the scenery. Also, I mean, with the colors I initially gave to the flowers, they sort of had this kind of, I don't know, they sort of look like this metallic, like steel color, and it's like, that's kind of weird for flowers. So, I'm going to start adding some shading to the flower. So if you look at the color wheel, so the color directly across from yellow is violet. So I'm going to be darkening this yellow color with a touch of violet, and then begin applying that darkened color to the canvas. And in order to do this, I'm going to use a very, very fine filbert brush to apply these shadows. So this is a number 6 filbert brush. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start applying this darkened color to the petals. The majority of the shadowed areas are going to be kind of radiating from the center at the moment. But as I continue going out, I'll add more. Yeah, I'll be adding more highlights to it also to kind of give it a three-dimensional look. But for now, I'm just going to concentrate on the shadows, and I don't really have to go slow. I'm going to kind of take my time in this, so I'm going to go a bit slowly. The nice thing is by the time I get to the flowers on the right-hand side, they're already dry enough for me to paint over, so I'm not painting on top of wet paint.
mama told ya, everything that glitters sure ain't gold. Hey, now what you wanted, what you thought you had to have, is just what you got now. Playing grown, now you're singing a sad song. I tried to warn you, but you didn't listen. Singing a sad song. Oh, look what you done. Singing a sad song. I hate to hear you singing a sad song. Sad song, yeah. You out here crying, crying a river, just because somebody broke your heart, broke your heart. You're asking why didn't I realize when you already knew from the start? Oh, oh, oh. See, I know it's true what they say. Everybody plays the fool. You see, I've been there and I've done that, and now I've learned I'm gonna do me, and you gotta do you. Oh, yeah. Hey, yeah. You can sing it if you wanna, but it won't be me. No, cry the blues over you. Hey, you can do it if you wanna. Hey, but if you feel like I feel, let me hear you say,
True story. Mike G, J. Veneer.
I had to do it, man. It's only right, you know what I mean? You got me gone when I think about you and the love that we share, baby. What we gon' do? You got me gone when I think about you and the love that we share, baby. What we gon' do? Hey. Damn, the mama know she fine and she looking like a diamond. I'm gonna make her mine. My shawty kept it real and she always hold me down. Hey, 'cause she's not around. And I miss the way she feel 'cause the sex is so.
So I'm gonna add a slightly darker shade of maybe a brownish color into like the darker, like the spots between the petals, just to kind of give the petals themselves a little bit more definition. But this is not an effect I'm going to be relying heavily on. I'm just going to add some spots here or there. I just want enough to just kind of create a bit of separation, but maybe not make it so obvious or overdo it. So I'm going to add a little bit of brown to this mixture. And then just very, very gently kind of go between the petals.
Start to hating cause they heard she was a DJ in a Delta and a full blood Asian. My city, they never seen it. This girl was off the Richter. Everywhere that we went, they would snap it, taking pictures. I'm a star, she's a star. Every day was caviar. We taught each other, loved each other. I miss you, girl, I need you, ma. See your face in my dreams and feel your touch when I'm weak. Cause she's a queen, she a dime. So sexy, so sweet. Oh, damn, the mama know she fine and she looking like a diamond. I'm gonna make her mine.
Okay, so this is a very, meant to be a very subtle technique. If it doesn't come off quite as subtle as I'm hoping it will, and so far it's actually looking pretty decent, I will probably just kind of give it another glaze of yellow just to kind of lighten it up a little bit, but at the moment I'm kind of happy with it.
She's a queen, she a dime, so sexy, so sweet. Oh, damn, the mama know she fine and she looking like a diamond. I'm gonna make her mine. My shawty kept it real and she always hold me down. Hey, 'cause she's not around. And I miss the way she feel 'cause the sex is so amazing and crazy. So what's the deal? so good to me. Yeah, I don't wanna be with nobody else. Today we gonna celebrate. It's the lovers' holiday. Make it last forever. You know how to make me smile. Take this blindfold off me now. I can't wait to see what you plan for today. 10,000 roses on the walk-in. Candlelight dinner made my favorite. Start off with a massage, champagne, pop the tags. Spoil me, now you're speaking my language. 214, 143. I love you, you love me. You're my favorite Valentine. Oh baby, love so strong it can't be broken down. You deserve the world and I know it. Chasing all the years that we've been down. Relationship goals, yeah we made it. Today we're gonna celebrate. It's the
So I'm
lovers'
pretty satisfied with adding a little bit of extra dark color to the flower petals. I think it makes the flowers look a little bit more interesting. I think the next step's going to be to start adding some lighter colors, some highlights, and so we already kind of know where the lights are going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and add those lighter areas in, and then after I kind of evaluate that, I may start putting a yellow glaze over all of that just to tie it all together. So I'm going to start off by doing, let's see, probably some lemon yellow mixed with a Naples yellow. I think maybe using like titanium white might be a little too strong for at least this layer of light color. I might come back with titanium white a little bit later to add some highlights, although I don't really know exactly how many highlights you would really expect to see on a flower petal. I mean, it's not a particularly shiny surface. It's going to be a little bit more of a matte surface, I think. Let's go ahead and see how this mixture looks using the same filbert brush. I'm just kind of testing it out at the moment, and that doesn't look too bad. And in this case, I'm just kind of gingerly touching these areas at the moment. I don't want to spread too much highlight here. I'm going to actually kind of go back and blend some of this in if it's still wet. I'll wipe off the excess paint and kind of blur some of these edges. I think this is a good first layer of lighter paint. I'm going to dip a little bit of paint in there, wipe off some of it, and just kind of blend a little bit into the shadows around here. Around the top, specifically.
get knocked down, I try not to get weary, but now my strength is fading. Please come save me. In my mind, I'm trying to contemplate whether or not I got what it takes to get to the other side. My world is falling apart, and I don't feel I have the strength to carry on. That's when I look up. That's when I look up. There's no other strength I know. There's no other strength. I look to the hills. That's where my help comes from. The battle's already won. Lord, I'm saying thank you for my rescue. When will I see the promise? Will I fulfill my bucket list? I don't care how hard it gets. God gave me the strength to never quit. I don't wanna be a preacher. I can't relate to you. Sometimes I feel under because of the pressure. I'm trying to contemplate whether or not I got what it takes to get to the other side. My world is falling apart, and I don't feel I have the strength to carry on. That's when I look up. That's when I look up. No other strength I know. No other strength. I look to the hills. That's where my help comes from. The battle's already won. Lord, I'm saying thank you for my rescue. When I feel my head underwater, when I can't see my way out, when everything is crashing down on me, when all hell is breaking loose on me, when I feel my head underwater, when I can't see my way out, when everything is crashing down on me, when all hell is breaking loose on me.
Alright, so since I've done a pretty decent job of adding some lighting to these flower petals, I'm going to go ahead and use some lemon yellow with just a small touch of violet just to kind of calm down the intensity. And then I'm going to kind of go over like the parts of the highlighted areas where I think the light would kind of strike them just a little bit more, just to kind of lighten up those areas. And then we'll think about how I want to proceed from there. Generally, what I would advise is rather than use like a color directly from the paint tube, I would probably go ahead and mix that with a little bit of its complementary color on the color wheel, just to tone down the intensity, since paint directly from the tubes is usually pretty intense. You don't usually need to put like a whole lot of that color down into it. You don't have to mix it that thoroughly. Just like a small touch is generally enough. And at this point, the yellow I'm putting on top of the highlight, it's actually kind of more of a very subtle effect. It's not like super intense or bright. And that's what we're going for here, is we don't want it to be like too in your face. Again, we don't want the flowers coming off too shiny, otherwise you risk making them look kind of metallic. So, in order to tie the dark and light areas of the flower petals together a little bit more, I think I will indeed put a bit of a yellow glaze over it, just to kind of tie the colors together a little bit better. In that case, I'm just going to use a flat brush, a very small flat brush, so I'm going to pick one out. And Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and use, I think this is the same number 4 flat brush that I used earlier. So I'm going to mix a bit of the lemon yellow with a bit of glaze. Probably a bit more glaze than paint this time because I really want this to be a transparent layer. Transparent layer. I don't know, something about that particular combination of words I thought was funny. I don't know, maybe it rhymes. Transparent layer. Okay, now I'm getting weird. Anyway, let's go ahead and just start doing that. And I'm kind of applying this glaze a little looser than I was before. Alright. So, now that I've applied a bit of a glaze to the flower petals, I think they're looking pretty decent. So, I'm going to start working on the... I have no idea what you call those things. The center of the flowers. I think the other day I called them bee landing pads. That's probably about as good a name as anything, because I legitimately never bothered to look up what the hell those center parts are called. Like I said, it's the part that the bees land on. You know what I mean. So, I'm going to go ahead and... So, okay, to review, previously I painted these blue, because if you look at the color wheel, I'm going to go back to the color wheel again, the complementary of blue is orange, and since these are going to be a brown color, orange is just really dark brown. You can quote me on that. There you go. Quote of the day. Orange is dark brown. And if it's not, then I don't know what colors are. So we're going to go ahead and glaze these with a brown color. Burnt umber. So it's going to be burnt umber mixed with a bit of matte medium. Some gloss. And that way it still darkens up that area, makes them the brownish color I'm looking for, but it also kind of creates a bit of a transparency too. Because I don't want to necessarily kill all the little tiny details I've applied to them yet. I'll probably paint over parts of them, but I still want a lot of it to show through. And it's okay if I paint over just a little bit of the petals in the center. When I was painting the petals, I got a little overzealous and covered up the centers anyway. So this is good. This is what I want. That said, I do want to work to make sure that these centers are round. I don't want them to have like weird edges or anything like that. Ah, man. Don't you hate it when you have like a technical whoopsie daisy? Well, speaking of daisies, let's get back to working on these. So, I painted in the centers of the little, I guess, landing pads. And so I'm going to start darkening up some of these areas and adding a little bit of detail. And then, once we've done that, then I will go back over and I will probably lighten up a few areas, create a little bit of texture, and probably finalize the center of these flowers. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix some of that burnt umber with the tiniest touch of ultramarine. And that's just going to create a darker burnt umber. And by doing that, should end up with some really decent shadowy areas. The ultramarine and blue is a pretty strong blue. So we don't have to go completely, we don't have to go too nuts with this. Even like the slightest touch of it into the burnt umber is going to darken it up significantly. And like I said, this is just going to be like slightly touching the center, so we're not going to completely cover the areas, and these are pretty small, so even just a little bit of work is going to go a long way. Just kind of touch the areas that kind of pop out of this. Like I said, there's no real science to this. Just kind of go by your feels. So I'm pretty happy with this so far. So what I'm going to put in now is a bit of burnt sienna, just to kind of give some highlights to the centerpieces, the landing pads. I don't know, the things. Yeah, and just to kind of calm the burnt sienna down a little bit, very tiny bit of ultramarine blue, just to kind of take out some of the saturation. Not a hell of a lot. Again, strong blue can easily overdo this part, so don't. Burnt sienna is a strong color in and of itself, so basically wherever I touch, whatever parts of the centers I didn't touch with the darker burnt umber, there's the parts I'm going to be touching with the burnt sienna. Boop.
No use to tap on your feet, no use to cook something to eat. All you gotta do, all I need from you is leave me alone. There's no use to say you won't cheat, no use to cry for your defeat. All you gotta do, all I need from you is to leave me alone. No use to sleep on the floor, no use to say you hurt me no more. All you gotta do, all I need from you is to leave me alone. No use to sing my favorite song, no use to ask me to sing along. All you gotta do, all I need from you is to leave me alone. No use to ever come back home, no use to say what we share is gone. All you gotta do, all I need from you is to leave me alone. No use, you gotta leave me alone.
All right, so I'm gonna add a little bit of like a highlight mixture to the center parts, just to kind of give them a little bit of interest. I don't think I'll be using this filbert brush though. I think instead I'm going to use a pointer brush, a liner brush, pointy one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix a bit of Naples yellow into the burnt sienna, and then just kind of like dot the area a little bit with this. This is way too thick of a pointer brush. That's better. Yeah, we're going to go with a number 5 liner brush, and just add some little details to it here and there. Unfortunately, this doesn't take a particularly steady hand in order to put in these details, since the little dots are mostly random. But try to stay within like the lighter area of the B landing pad. Try not to get too into like the darker areas. Although, like I said, even if you do, no one's gonna call you out on it. But you'll know. Do you really want to know that you did that? Oh gosh, I do not care. Alright, those are some good details, and I think that for the most part, I've blocked in all the colors I wanted to block in. The shading is basically done for the most part. But we're not quite done yet. Now, because we're going to kind of move into the final touch-up stages, which is basically I just kind of go in, look at little details I can clean up here or there, clean them up, and just kind of make this look a little bit nicer. Before I kind of call it. If you've checked the clock, we're not quite at the end of the stream yet. So Bonesaw still got you for 5 more minutes. Actually, a little bit longer. I'm being silly. Let's play around for a bit. We got time. I don't got nowhere to go. You don't got nowhere to go. Let's have fun. So, one of the first things I can do, off the top of my head, is there's still some of the gray cup areas still kind of showing here, along this edge here. This part here is still kind of a grayish color from the last time when, for whatever reason, the paint just wasn't sticking. So, in order to remedy this, is I'm going to take a glaze of a bit of that burnt sienna I did earlier, and just kind of glaze over those areas, just so they're a little nicer and a little bit more clean. So, where's my flat brush? I used to have a flat brush. Yeah, this is the flat brush I want to use. So, again, it's a glaze, so it's probably going to be more burnt sienna and that matte. What is this called? Matte acrylic medium. You know, you could probably actually kind of lighten up your colors or make them a bit more transparent with just water. Maybe I might add a touch of water, but yeah. I'm not a scientist, so let's go ahead and start laying this in. Ooh, that's not. That a little bit of that goes a long way.
Give it
Oh boy. Yeah, that burnt scene I loved on there was actually a lot stronger than I thought it was gonna be. So, yeah, watch out for that. You should probably test it a little bit more than I do. But if it is too strong, I mean, it's a glaze. Spread it around. Maybe mop up some of it with your brush. It's fine. It'll all work out. I don't think I've ever actually done something to a canvas to just completely fucking brick my painting. Shoot, I swore. Oh boy, gonna have to start implementing a swear jar. You can tell I'm getting a little bit more relaxed because I'm just casually swearing now. I wonder if Twitch has a problem with me swearing. Maybe. Hey, don't tell anybody. Yeah, that's right. James from the Paint Stream swears a bit. It's our little secret, though.
What is it that is worth to fight for? You ain't here by my side to bring the light in my heart. Could it be that I spoiled it all? Could it be that I've lost my faith in everything? Could it be that I killed the magic between us? Could it be that I missed the train? It's cold inside, and I'm trying not to fall apart. For I did the wrong steps in the wrong direction. I can only pray and make a new start. I'm so sorry that I hurt our love. I can only carry the pain of losing. Could it be that
All right. So I've added a bit of like a burnt sienna glaze to this tea, and cleaned up some of the edges, particularly around the flower petals and that spot that cannot help but see for some reason. Anyway, now that I've cleaned all this up, I'm going to go ahead and start moving on to the areas surrounding the shadowy areas of the cup. I just kind of want to darken that up a bit. And the best way to go about that is for me to desperately try to remember exactly what colors I was using when I did this. Pretty sure that it was a mixture of burnt sienna, not burnt sienna, burnt umber, and ultramarine. I want to keep it, like I said, pretty light glaze. In fact, this one's probably going to be more glazed than anything else in the universe. Gonna lie, not 100% certain that this will be worth it. If it's, I'm gonna just like do a small test. We're gonna get a little scientific here and just test this out. And if it is not worth the effort, I will probably just say no. maybe a little bit. But we're going to do this one sparingly, I'm afraid. Because I could see this one as being like one of the things that's going to get me in trouble. So actually probably going to need to be a bit more of a darker glaze. Alright, so the final part of the cleanup is I'm going to probably clean up the flower edges, particularly around between the flowers and the background. That's just kind of where I see like the most fuzziness and the little details that kind of bother me a little. But it shouldn't be like a lot of them, and it should be pretty quick cleanup, to be honest. I can still use the same brush. I'm just gonna need to make a new mixture of. I believe that this was. Like I said, I should have really been writing this down. Ultramarine, burnt umber. And I think also some Payne's Gray, which I unfortunately did not get out of the tray. So bear with me one moment. Alright, fortunately the Payne's Gray was actually pretty close by. So, that's good. Just go ahead and mix that background paint color, and then just kind of finish up the cleanup. I'm just kind of tightening up the edges along this cup here while I'm at it. Fortunately, we've kept this painting pretty clean, so there's not like a lot of spots that we gotta touch up. Whoops. That's okay. I'll just make that petal a little shorter. Alright. So I'm just going to put a little bit of detail in around here just because I think there should be some parts of the background that are kind of poking out between the petals. And then after that, this was looking pretty decent. You know, I think I actually kind of forgot to say what kind of brush I was switching over to. I think this is a number two shader. Yeah, it's a shader. What the hell's a shader? Okay, there may be some brush types I might have forgot. I thought everything was either flat, pointer, or filbert. This one says shader now, so you kind of threw me. I thought this would be a pointer. Well, regardless, I believe I've caught all the little details on this painting that I was going for. So, we're going to go ahead and sign this painting. So I'm going to sign it with my initials. Okay, so small detail about signing your initials. This was not taught to me when I was like learning to paint. I had to find this out a bit later. So I was going to an art fair, right? As I was getting ready for an art fair, and one of the people who works at the art museum happened to see like my paintings, and they noticed that I always signed my name in red. I don't know, I just like the color red. Anyway, they told me that the red kind of stands out too much with against all the other colors in the painting, and instead of being kind of like a nice color, it just kind of like draws the eye too much. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick out a color from the we're going to probably just like pick a color from here that's not too won't stand out too greatly from the overall piece. And I'm going to put my signature over here in the corner on the left hand side where there's just really not a lot of elements. That way my signature doesn't really go over anything important. It's just kind of going over a bit of a background piece. So what I'm probably going to do is just take the background color that I've already mixed and mix in a little bit of mixing white, and that a little bit of mixing white. I don't want it to like stand out too much. That would be bad. That would be kind of like that would sort of be defeating the purpose of the whole thing I said earlier about how it shouldn't compete with any of the other important stuff. So probably a bit of mixing white, a bit of Naples yellow, along with the background color. And I'll just kind of mix that together until I get like this gray that's a little bit lighter than the actual base tone. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that this is going to be fine. I'm going to wet my brush a little bit so that the paint flows a little bit nicer. Alright, I'm going to scoot this over so it's a little closer to my hand. That's nice. It still stands out against the background, but it also is just dull enough that it's not like the thing that your eye goes directly to. As a matter of fact, I'm not even sure if it really even shows up on the actual camera itself. So this might not even show up. You might not even be able to see it on the stream. And you know what? Nothing wrong with that. You can see it in real life, and that's kind of the whole point of the signature. Is it's not going to stand out too much, but it's going to be present. People are going to know who painted this one. And isn't that most? You know what? That's like most of work is like credit. I've actually known people who like cut off entire like work contracts because they didn't get enough credit, which to me is just ego. But I also have an ego, so. Yeah. Alright. So, now that this painting is basically wrapped up, I guess that's the I guess that's kind of it for the stream tonight because there's really not a whole lot left to do, and the amount of time it would take to set up like a new workspace or something, I don't really have enough time to do that either. So we're just gonna go ahead and put this back in the center. Let you all look at this real quick. Kind of hold it on there for a little bit, and we'll go ahead and end the stream here. So I'll give it a couple minutes, soak it all in. It's been a fun project. Acrylic painting is a lot of fun. Takes a while. This isn't like a one setting alla prima oil painting. This takes a few sessions. So anyway, keep an eye out on my Etsy store. Follow my store because this painting is probably going to be going up there in the next few weeks. I'll have this one framed and ready for sale. Also be selling prints of it too. So if anyone's interested in having like a print of this is also probably a good painting for production. If there's any other subjects or art projects you would like me to cover, follow me on social media. I have my links in my channel. So you can probably follow me on most likely Instagram. Sometimes I use Twitter or X, whatever the hell they want to call it these days. Sometimes I use it, not often. I don't even really have it installed on my phone. It's just so I get kind of lazy with that one. But Instagram is probably a good place to follow me. So yeah, this has been the paint stream. Uh, Hope you all have been having a good night and you've enjoyed the stream. And yeah, well, I'm excited to tackle other subjects. Hit me up on Instagram. We'll make suggestions. And we'll see you later. Have a good night.